the council to order. If you could please call the roll.
Newman.
Here.
Kimmerdanner.
Here.
Rautenstrau.
Here.
Mylum.
Here.
Cook.
Here. I know we have some new faces. I just want everybody to know, right now, we're going to go through our agenda. Just please make sure you're all muted. There will be opportunities for public comment during our formal session of the council meeting. So let's go through our agenda. We do have Dave Morano coming to meet with us at 6:15. And Jim, he has all the information that he needs to dial in, right?
He does.
Okay, perfect. All right. So we have the bid openings. We also received the mayor's state of the city. And then we'll go through the agenda. Council on the minutes?
Sure.
Sure.
Commissioner of Deeds as per the agenda.
I'll take it, Madam President.
Okay. So the local law with the Board of Assessment review, increasing it to 5. Anyone have any questions? Okay. Who wants it? Want to do council?
I think we should do council.
Everybody go with that, council?
Sure.
Okay, in the intermunicipal agreement, the shared services agreement that we received from our engineer, did anyone have any questions on that?
Agreed.
Do you want to do council on that?
Sure.
Perfect. Okay, and then I know we had some discussions on the Young Street corridor improvement with the bids. Are there any questions? Comments?
Not at this point. I think we've gone through this enough and had the public hearings and everything. I think
Think we're good.
Is the council in agreement on this? Do we want to do council?
I will have a comment during the meeting, but I'm okay with how it sits for sure.
Okay. Okay, so does someone want to take it, or do we want to do council?
I'll take it if you don't want to do council.
We can do
Okay.
council. Doesn't matter.
Also works for me.
Okay. The special events application for rent at the band shell.
I'll take
Mr.
that.
Milam?
Take it. Yeah.
Is that Dave? I'm sorry.
Yes, Mr. Milam. And that'll be Friday, June 11th. All right, executive, do we have executive?
I don't.
Okay. I don't.
No.
Okay. All right. Mayor, do you want to kick us off? All right. We'll go around the room before. Mayor, do you want to?
Yeah, I have nothing really. It's been quiet.
Okay. Okay. Tom, Mr. Newman?
Yeah, I just want to talk a little bit about, issues that had come up. Mr. Mayor, do you know what line item the volunteer fire department contracts come out of? In the under fire department budget?
I believe they come out of the salary.
No, it was under professional services for the
For the volunteer,
contracts with
for the
the,
contracts.
professional. Yeah.
So you say professional services?
Yes.
Was everybody aware that that line was cut by almost $8,000 from the mayor's proposed budget?
I actually did note that in the summary that I handed out when we talked about the budget.
When is their contract up for?
Asking me? April,
Yeah.
the contracts are issued in April.
The
Okay.
contracts are done every April. That's correct. Tim.
So obviously I have a concern that that was cut by $8,000, and then on contingency was cut another 4,400, almost $12,000, almost half the budget was volunteers. So I
I don't think-
serious- Go ahead.
I don't think the 4,400, I don't think was contingent. I think we removed that completely. And I
Even
don't mean
worse.
to hijack you, but I think the discussion or the thought is, you know, we gave them the full amount last year. Over the past year, I think there was, I'm just looking for a note on this. Most of it's used for events and things that they throw over the year, which everything was canceled over the past year. I think there was a $900 that they used for the insurance, which is what we used to pay for it. And then the rest of it was for events and other things that they did through the year that were all canceled over the year. So the theory was we gave them the money and it should still kind of be there.
That is completely incorrect. So the monies that are given from the city covers their operation expenses. For instance, National Hose has about a $20,000 operating budget. And we give them 6,500. The rest of that money has to be raised by fundraisers. So they have a long way to go. So yeah, there wasn't a lot of activity, but they didn't have fundraisers either because everything was shut down. And they issued a report of exactly what was requested by the mayor's assistant of what those monies are spent on. And none of them was for fun.
Have we ever seen those reports?
They were
I don't
submitted
remember
last
seeing them.
year. A
No,
contract
I don't.
that was submitted.
Never
We
seen
never
one.
seen them.
Asked for one all the time, never seen one.
I don't know
Yeah, I
what to
recall
tell
a
you.
lot of years of asking for
It
Was it-
was, it was
was it-
asked, it was, excuse me, it was asked for by the mayor's assistant in order to issue the checks. Well, they all complied and they all submitted it. If you guys didn't see it, I don't know what to tell you. It
Was that last year or was that 2 years ago?
was last year.
Okay.
It was
Two.
2 years.
2 years ago.
Well, maybe it was 2 years ago. I don't know. I
For
remember
me.
seeing it. That's possible. It was
Mayor-
2 years ago. Time flies.
Mayor, can you send us the
Yeah.
summary?
So moving forward, obviously, this is a major concern of, you know, not only mine, but for everybody. So that's all I have for now. We'll have to address this.
Okay. And when do we typically negotiate the contracts?
Well, the rule has always been you kind of go down to pick up your check and you sign the contract and you get the check. So what would happen this year is they're going to go down in April to sign a check and it's going to be of, well, one company is, I mean, it's half. I mean, we're talking about a surprise to them. I mean, it's, I don't know what to say, honestly, at this point. I didn't catch it.
Budget.
I did not know where that line came out of. I had no idea. You know, nor did I.
I noted that it was for the volunteer fires when I noted the part that I had reduced when we talked about it. I think, is there a 2020 audit we did in 18?
No. Talk about from the fire companies themselves.
No, I think from the volunteers. Was there an audit, a 2020 audit? I guess to an extent too, is we did request a lot of these things, but we don't have them. I think we did an audit in 18, and I guess I'm asking if we can do a new one. I think we asked for the expenses, but we never have, do we ever get an amount of what it was spent? I think I recall asking for that, or it being asked for over the past couple of years, but I don't think we ever got an outlined list of the expense.
I mean, the mayor
expenses that
says it was
used
2
for.
years ago. It probably was 2 years ago. It was a request and it was submitted by all four companies.
All right. So let's, Mayor, if you could just send us that this week and we can review that.
And I guess comparatively too, we're talking about, you know, it's comparative to the amount that we give to the auxiliary, to the water police, the underwater police. And I'm not sure how they compare together and what their expenses are.
Okay, so we have some time on that. Let's get the documents, and it's probably not a bad idea. If it was 2 years ago, if we can get last year's expenses, and let's come back to that.
Sure. And I want to say that from my notes, this was the expenses were based on, the reduction was based on the 2020, on what they were spent or what we gave them.
I just want to make sure that we don't have a contractual amount that we have to pay them in our budget.
No,
Doesn't,
there's no
account
current
for that.
contractual amount. It's renewed every year and it's never
Okay.
gone up. I mean, it hasn't gone up in quite a few years, but the fire
Okay.
companies haven't asked for an increase either.
Okay.
The last substantial increase that went up was because of a liquor liability insurance that the city
Right.
forced on them. So that was the last increase that they had, was to cover that cost.
Okay. Okay. Tom, let's come back to you. I see Dave Morano has joined us. Thank you, Dave. Can you hear us?
Good evening, thank you. I can you hear me?
We can. All right. I appreciate you coming to our council meeting tonight. I wanted to bring you here just to talk about the exemption deadline and the notification that you've sent to the council that we've shared throughout the community. I believe you've posted it on the city page as well.
Sure.
So I want to turn it over to you because you're well-versed in this, more well-versed than I am. So if you could just brief the city on this.
Yeah, so it's a good thing that what happened. I just wish the state would have done it earlier would have saved us some money. But generally, there are two main exemptions that have to be renewed every year. One is the low-income senior, which goes to seniors who are over 65 and have an income of $35,400 or below. The second is the disability exemption, which goes to folks who have a disability as denoted by Social Security, and they have an income below $37,400. It's not age related. Because those are income-based exemptions, they have to be renewed each year. So is our standard policy. In October, we sent out renewals for the low-income seniors, and then in late December, we sent out our renewals for the disability. In early January, actually very late December, early January, the governor signed an executive order to minimize the contact and people having to leave homes and et cetera, that basically said you don't have to renew this year. That if you had it last year, we will just automatically carry over your income from last year to apply it to this year. Minimize them having to come into our offices, minimize our contact with our staff, with people as they come in. And then each community, which the city council did, had to just adopt it, and which we did here. So the good news is for a lot of our seniors and those folks with disability, they didn't have to come into our office, leave their homes. There was a lot less traffic in the office. It was a good thing that the state did. The downside of it, though, unfortunately, was we spent, as every other community did, a lot of, not tons of money, but we spent probably, $500-600 in postage, and maybe probably $700 or $800 in postage and mailing. And I just wish the state had done it earlier. But all in all, it's a good thing. The public has accepted it very well. Katie Schultz in my office is doing an excellent job communicating as people call and come in. We have put things on the website. We did a press release to we were trying to get in the Sun, but we ended up putting in the Kenton B because the Sun is not publishing. But good thing, and it's will help our folks. One less thing they got to worry about leaving their homes, and one less person coming into City Hall that could cause any contamination issues there.
Okay, perfect. And then obviously the veterans exemptions, you don't have to renew
No,
annually.
veterans exemptions don't have to be renewed. And the one caveat is anybody applying new, whether it's, so if you're new to the disability program, new turning 65 and maybe eligible, or a new veteran, those do have to be renewed. Now that's a small number, but the order and everything did not cover anything new, just the renewals. But that's quite frankly, that's 95% of our traffic is the renewals that come in.
Perfect. Any questions?
So Dave, you're just saying that on the renewal part of it, it's just the veterans that have to renew that? Is that my understanding?
No, the veterans don't. So the only things that have to be renewed yearly are the income-based exemptions, which would be the
Okay.
low-income senior and the disability. The veteran exemption, once you get the veteran exemption, it stays on your property. Even if the veteran were to pass away, the veteran's exemption stays and goes to the surviving spouse. The only veteran exemption, I don't want to use the word renewal, but the only veteran exemption that we see people on, it might be 8 or 10 people a year, if that, is those who have a disability as a result of their military service. If their rating changes, let's say they were classified as 20% disabled and it goes to 40%, those folks do have to bring in the new ratings. But again, maybe 6 or 8 people a year, if that, we have it. So veterans don't have, but anybody filing new, so if somebody who's new to the city moves in town and they are a veteran, those folks do have to apply new. But we are doing as much as we can to get people to renew what we call touchless. We're using, we have Scott Sheehan from the police department through IT. We have dedicated email lines that people can send the renewals on. We obviously have the drop boxes. We're encouraging people to either email or drop it. So we are, I don't want to say discouraging people from coming into City Hall, but trying to provide as many alternatives so they don't have to come in, but they can still get the service that they expect from us.
Perfect. Thank you so much for clarifying that.
No problem.
And Dave, just for convenience, what's the phone number, just in the event that any residents have any questions regarding exemptions?
The direct line to the assessor's office is 695-8639. Again, 695-8639. And all the information, forms and everything, Katie Schultz, working with Caitlin in the mayor's office over the past year, has done a great job. So everything you need is on the website. So a simple phone call and we can help you go to the website, can get you just about anything you need.
Great, Dave. Does anyone else have any questions? All right, thank you so much.
So you know what, I was hoping I could stay longer because now I'm forced to go out and run the snow blow.
You can stay as long as you want.
People are finding
My wife
other
is
ways
there.
to get the shot. Plus, here
Thank you, Jim.
But that was a commercial break for a second there.
Exactly. All right, guys, any questions, never hesitate to call. Y'all have a good evening.
You as well.
Thank
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks, Dave.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dave.
All right, Tom, we'll go back to you.
You're gonna circle back to me, are you?
I'll circle back.
Actually, I think I'm done for now with that. I just have concerns about it. So I think we need to address it. That's all.
Okay. Yeah, we'll take a look at that. We'll get all the documentation and then we can talk about it at our next meeting. Okay,
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Ms. Cameron.
Hi, thanks. Just a couple of things. I did send you guys all an email in regards to the new business that is going in by Steve's Paint, called Top Shop. I'm waiting to hear back from him when he's going to have his grand opening so we could possibly all be there. It's going to be an asset to the city, like I had said in my email, with potentially having about 25 new jobs coming in as well. And I do believe I did tell you guys too that he is going for a variance to add on to the back of that building to have indoor storage. He believes for the residents that are in that neighborhood, not him to see the cars outside after they've been in a wreck or even just in for, simple little body work. So, kudos to Mr. Cavalieri for that. The other thing that I wanted to touch on is I do have an LDC meeting tomorrow night. I will give you guys an update on that at our next council meeting. Gateway food trucks. I think there was some confusion and I kind of want to clarify this. They're asking for that section of Seymour, Niagara, and Main Street to be closed so that they can move forward with their potential food trucks for this year. As far as the COVID is concerned, they're going to follow just like everything else. If it changes, they're going to indicate that it's going to be changes. So they just need to know that we're okay with the closing of that section so that the food trucks will be moved from the location on Young Street where they were to the new location on Niagara Street. Are you guys all okay with that? Do you have concerns so that I can get back to Mandy and let her know that we can move forward with this?
I didn't
I
have any
think a lot-
concerns. Oh, go ahead, Dick.
Go ahead. We always
No.
get hung up on that delay.
I didn't have, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
No,
you're
you go.
good.
Short straw goes first.
It's all you.
I didn't have any concerns about the location. My question, not more of a question, but my comments were, I want to ensure that we follow the COVID guidelines, whatever they may be in the summer. Who knows? It's such a fluid situation. So that was my thoughts.
Okay.
Well, great minds think alike. I think that's what I was going to say too. And just like you said, it could be one thing one week and then the next week it could be totally different. So as long as everybody's goes into this with the understanding that it could change week to week, or even, it could scale up from week to week, or it could go away from week to week. As long as we're all in that mindset, I think it's good to go ahead and have something to look forward to like this.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Tate and I will reach out to her tomorrow and let her know that we're okay with that they can go ahead and submit their paperwork to us.
Tom or Sean, did you have anything?
No, that was basically my concerns as well, and I look forward to things being normal. I mean, obviously, if things change, we've put it into every special event that, depending on what the
Due to COVID.
circumstances are.
Yeah,
Tom?
I think we need to open it for sure. I think it's something that this community needs, to try to get back to some sort of normalcy. We're pushing a year.
Right.
So we're going to lose our minds pretty soon,
For sure.
or
Yep.
if they already lost their minds.
Okay.
Now, the only question, it's between Seymour and Maine, right? Not Maine itself. Maine will remain open, correct?
Correct. Maine will stay open is my understanding.
I mean, if that's a problem in that section, could we not use the far end of Young Street? I guess which would be considered 13 Young, right? With
Well,
construction
aren't
on
they going to be
Lofty.
starting construction soon? I think that's why they didn't want to
Yeah.
do it there.
True, unless they're using that for truck traffic. I don't know what the plan would be. If they're going to use that portion of Young for truck traffic, and yeah, I see it being a problem.
Yeah,
But
that would be
the
something that the mayor
renovations-
would be able to
Yeah, the
elaborate on a little bit
renovations
more.
end at the entrance right past the hub, really, that's the breaking point. I don't
Well,
know.
we don't own that section anymore.
That is true.
So
That is very true, actually. But the lease it back. Thanks for the reminder.
No, Lisa.
Perfect.
That's all I have, Madam President. Thank you.
Well, we were actually on to Dawn, but
You asked me if I need anything, so
We circled back.
I'll circle
Bring
back.
it back a third time.
I'm gonna stick a pin in that and come back to it later.
yeah.
Perfect.
Anything else,
I'm all
Dawn?
set. No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Mr. Elmstrow?
Just to circle back, I just want to speak more about the volunteers. I think that was something we did talk about. We all kind of worked together to put this out there and discuss the heck out of the budget. It was clearly outlined in there. I think we did this reduction based on last year's lack of activity. We're not saying it's a permanent cut, just rather than trying to save we're looking to save taxpayers money when they don't have extra money to work with this year, and COVID is an uncertainty. I think there was a fiscal responsibility to look into that and to look into the cuts where we made them. I mean, we made a lot of contingency cuts and a lot of provisions in the process. I think we've talked about it in the past, back when I was on the council the first time, and I've watched you guys talk about it the last 2 years. I don't think we've ever get a true rundown of what the money was spent on, and I think that's something we should have documented, so this doesn't happen in the future, so we can have a good idea of what's needed, and not overspend, not leave them short either. I just kind of wanted to make one more point on that.
Well, I think we have it documented. We just have to get our hands on the document.
Sure. And I don't know that, if that's kept scanned in, if it's part of our DocuWare stuff, if that's something that could be readily pulled. Again, I don't recall seeing a handwritten document at one point with some notes on it. I don't recall seeing any kind of official document. And maybe it's time we start seeing that submitted to the council in official documentation. Again, nobody's trying to beat anybody up on this. I think it's a matter of, we need to look under every stone right now, and especially with the situation we're in. And it's kind of my thought on that. The only other thing I have, and I know we've gone back and forth on it. I don't know if you want to talk about it now, or if you want to wait till everybody's had a chance to talk and open it up for discussion. But I know we've Mike and Brittany have worked hard on creating this new ethics board, putting a resolution in and changing the code of ethics. I think there's some concerns that I personally have with it, to make sure it's steered in the right direction. And I don't know if you want to open it up. I know I sent I guess I'll stop there. If you want to carry this on after the go around or after the meeting, I don't want to hold anything up. So
yeah, I was going to tee it off when it got to me.
Gotcha. I didn't mean to hijack you.
No.
You know what? Let's circle back to it when we get to Jenna then.
Dave, Mr. Rylam?
Yeah, really quickly. I know we got an email from a resident this week, and it is something that I had sent around to the council. I don't know, 2-3 years ago, and it may be the easiest solution for the. I think I read in the paper tonight, 64 times this CSX bridge has been hit on Young Street, and basically the idea is a sign that is hung from a couple of a pole on each side of the street. And the sign says, if you hit the sign, you're going to hit that bridge. I know it sounds silly, but sometimes the craziest solutions the easiest ones are the ones that work the best. So prior to the meeting tonight, I sent an email over to DPW and to ask if the sign department could make that sign for us. It was in the Buffalo News tonight that Senator Ryan was talking about bringing the state in on that, and it's kind of interesting. It would be great to have the state come in and take a look at it, but if we can maybe even pilot 2 signs and see if that'd work, if we can do that in-house. Like I said, I know it sounds silly. You can, if the resident listening, go out and Google, if you hit this sign, you'll hit that bridge. You'll see an example of what that sign would look like. But 67 times is unacceptable, even because over the past 4 years, we've poured money into that section of the town with signage and going around with studies and having angry residents come in. I don't know what more we can do. So I just wanted to let you know, I threw that out there to DPW just to see if we could possibly try that.
Dawn, have you connected with traffic and safety?
I've reached out to Captain Foles a couple of times. My knowledge, there's still no set date yet of when they're going to meet. Dave, we have brought that up numerous times during the last 3.5 years. That committee feels that they've put up more than enough signage over there, but I feel that, maybe we need something because a lot of the Canadians are the ones that are hitting these bridges. They're not calculating the difference between
Correct.
Ours and them. So we need to make it a little bit easier. And I happened to see real quick too, Senator Ryan actually sent out a letter today, and I believe the mayor can touch on this. So hopefully with them coming in, we can get more signage because we can't attach anything to the bridge.
Right.
It's
Right.
gotta
I
be
was
before or
talking about
after.
maybe, 50 feet prior to the bridge on either side.
Right. Well, the problem is it's not just that bridge either, Dave.
What's that?
It's not just that bridge anymore, unfortunately.
I know.
And
Oh, go ahead.
I'll come to you, Mayor.
No, I just wanted to, I touched base with Senator Ryan and told him, my frustration and that, in the time that I've been mayor, I've sent CSX 2 notices about, trying to do something to increase awareness as far as the bridge goes, and both of them fell on deaf ears. So I asked him to, get involved and put a little bit more weight with a New York State senator other than a small city mayor sending a letter to CSX. So, I asked him to help try to facilitate a meeting to where we could kind of figure things out. But I do know that when Tribuco was city attorney, he stated that in New York State, it was illegal to put those signs over the road, that if you hit this sign, you'll hit the bridge. I don't know if that is true or not, but, and maybe Mike can.
Yeah, Mayor, if I may, yes, we would also need the permission of the New York State Department of Transportation if we're going to put up that signage. And as a note, when Ron Tribuco was the city attorney, we were criticized for having too much signage at that bridge by the Department of Transportation.
nice.
So, but we will have to consult with them if we're going to put any type of signage on that road.
Okay. I do have another issue that it's kind of, I don't know, it's upsetting, and it's, I want to bring it to light, and I wasn't going to say anything, but then I figured, what the heck. I was very concerned to hear that certain committees have been allowed to meet in city-owned buildings during this pandemic and use the city buildings for their meetings when council members have a very difficult time even getting into City Hall to do anything. I would like to know how these committees have been allowed to get into the buildings, why they've been allowed. Traffic and safety committees won't meet due to the restrictions. Like I said, we're at our homes doing a meeting. We can't even get together to honor or recognize the people that had such heroic actions back in May. And we have residents and people who are using city-owned property to hold meetings. I'm very concerned about that, and it should end as quickly as possible.
So that would fall under the day-to-day operations of the mayor. I don't know what committees are meeting.
Senior citizen committees, meeting senior citizens building.
Okay. So they're meeting at the senior citizens building?
They had.
Okay. I don't know if they still are.
Still are.
So, what's that?
They still are. Social distancing, wearing masks, same stuff. It's
But
nothing.
we
It's a
can't get
huge
into City
space.
Hall. But we can't get into City Hall, so we
Well,
can
City Hall
let them go.
should be open now.
Okay. We're sitting here Zooming. We can't even get together for meetings.
Oh, I would love to get together. Believe me.
Yeah. So, I mean, so we should afford the committee the opportunity to Zoom, and I'll reach out. I'll take care of that. But Mayor, if you could also pass that along to the fire chief.
Okay, I didn't know how they were getting in. Because
So-
I wasn't allowing them in.
Another good question.
Well, I guess that's a good question too, but you're also looking at the fact if people are meeting there, is it being properly sanitized
Is
and
it
cleaned
clean?
up
Right.
afterwards?
Is it being,
Who is
right?
doing that? And if we are doing it, that's an added expense to our city employees. This is all, raises a lot of questions.
All right,
We
well,
realize things have changed over, but the fact of the matter is if somebody's been taking advantage of something, that should be looked at.
And
Yeah.
I don't want it to sound like I don't have a problem with that committee meeting. However, we're forced to follow all sorts of protocols here. And, we should be able to meet. So it's what's good for one is good for all. If certain committees aren't going to meet or not going to meet due to this, then I don't know. Or if we decide that the committees should be able to meet, maybe then we need to send a directive to the Traffic and Safety Committee. You will meet. There's a lot of issues going on that committee hasn't met since probably March, I would say. There's a lot of stuff going on.
and they have the opportunity to meet because we have our Zoom account, correct?
Correct.
So any city committee that would have a scheduled meeting can use our Zoom account to schedule those meetings and socially distance, obviously do it via Zoom, but
Then we shouldn't be saying, oh, we're just not going to meet.
I mean, you also have to take into consideration the means of, do they have a laptop to be able to meet or some way to connect or even the know-how to be able to access that technology. You don't want to single out some people and not let them be able to attend. I know a couple other committees I heard of that, there's a little bit of frustration with meeting that way and not familiar enough with the technology to do it. So I think there's a fine line that you don't want to cross. You do want it out there, but at the same time, you want to be able to accommodate everybody.
well, I do believe Councilmember Cameron has spoken to Captain Foles about
Yeah.
traffic and safety matters and
I have, but again,
Schedule-
most of the, members that sit on that committee don't have access to computers, so.
That would be the same with some of the senior citizens as well, because
Correct.
Absolutely.
they don't have a smartphone, some of them. So it's
Right.
It's
definitely.
just getting frustrating. I feel like we're just missing out on things and things
Right.
aren't getting the way that they should be because, and it's hard to blame a pandemic and keep going back to that. But at some point, I think we've got to start taking responsibility for what's right and either have them meet or, I don't know, figure out a way to allow it to be safe.
Sean, can I ask a quick question? How did you guys meet in the bottom of City Hall for your reform, for the police reform?
It was arranged ahead of time. I know they did it because all the equipment was there. It went through City Hall, through the mayor's office, and we had all the equipment set up. There was no other meeting there. It was socially distanced. I don't know if we were overriding something or if that was just a matter of convenience to make it happen. I know when we talked about it, it was discussed by the chair that, if anybody doesn't feel comfortable being there, they could Zoom in as well. I think we just took advantage of the situation and made sure we were there to get the message out.
And then I think when City Hall closed, then you met via Zoom, right?
Yeah, no, the regular meetings are via Zoom on Saturday mornings. And I think that Zoom was like right when we went orange. So I think there's still, it was a matter of if we were fully locked down, not locked down. But I want to say that meeting was when we went into the orange zone.
Okay.
And now that the cluster designations are gone, we should be able to be doing our meetings in person, correct?
I was going to find out what the reopening plan was from the mayor, but before I do that, I know Mr. Newman's on the edge of his seat. He wanted to circle back on something, right, Mr. Newman?
If I could, please.
Sure.
It has to do with traffic and safety. So I sent everybody via text message a photo. You guys saw it or not?
Saw it.
So Neil Kavanaugh from Consumers Beverage reached out to me in regards to that no parking sign. It's kind of in the way of backing some trucks into that area. So he just asked if it was feasible to possibly move the sign maybe 10 feet more towards that power pole that he had to have that put in for his new service. All closer to that. I would recommend just on the other side, only because of the underground that goes through there. You don't want to hit that. If it's even feasible, I don't know. It's, Dawn, can you possibly look into this
Yeah, absolutely, Tom.
and see what happens from there? Just want to keep
Not
everybody in
to-
the loop on that.
Speed devil's advocate too is the consideration for the person that lives at that house by putting a no parking in front of their house. It could inconvenience them as well.
He already has two
And-
power poles, so he's pretty much all blocked in anyway. No, I had mentioned that to him. I said he's probably not gonna be real happy. It could be on the left side. I know it can't be put on the pole. Yeah, oh no.
Right.
So right next to it is probably fine. I don't know. I don't know the rules on that. If there's certain distance from that pole for servicing, I have no idea. Something he asked about, so I told him I would bring it up and bring it up to Don's attention and further into it.
Okay,
Thank you, Madam
I will
President.
do that.
All right. Dave, did you have anything?
No, I think my frustration is just spilling over and it's kind of misdirected, but I understand that. I just, I would just like to be able to get back to normal, just like everybody else, get back to doing our meetings, get back to going to see people and things like
Right.
that. So, excuse me if I came off a little bit more angry than I really am. I just, I think that there should be some, the designations are down, the schools are starting to open back up. And, I think we need to take that into consideration for the residents and for us. I'll leave it at that.
Yep.
Thank
Mayor, are you still with us?
Yes.
Okay. Part of my around the room was to get a status update of what our reopening plan is of City Hall. Do we have a plan?
Yeah, so Monday, we're looking at reopening City Hall by appointment only. And then working with our custodians to try to figure out a time, because one of our custodians is going to be out for a medical procedure. So we'll be down to 2. So it might be a matter of like what it was before, where they have to meet on the first and third Tuesday downstairs to try to because we already are paying a janitor to be there on Tuesday evenings to try to maximize the use of that janitor. So just to give you a heads up.
Okay, so, more to come on that, but we can tentatively plan that our next council meeting will be at City Hall.
Right. The way it's going right now, it looks like that. I don't know what the regulations are going to be for as far as the amount of people allowed in.
Right.
And that's something that, we'll all have to take a look
Right.
at when time comes.
Right.
We also put in for the touchless faucets and toilets to kind of help minimize spread as far as that's concerned. So, and we're trying to get that done with some of the monies that we got to expand the courts downstairs. So,
Perfect. So more to come on that. Just let us know.
yeah.
I know it's been a while since we've seen each other, but I've put on a few COVID pounds, so it'll be nice to see everybody in person. I just wanted to update you guys on the LED street light. I don't know, is that delay on my end?
I think so.
Gotta love technology. And Mayor, chime in at any point too. But we're looking at the end of February to get the materials to come in. so that we can get going on the LED construction. So that's good news there. We're putting on.
We do have to talk about a maintenance. We are gonna have to talk about some sort of maintenance agreement going forward.
Right.
And have that in place for when they all go up, so. Whether
Exactly.
that's through NIPA or whether that's through, another company, I don't think we have the staff. I don't want to say the staff. I don't think we have the wherewithal to be able to do something like that, to reset a telephone pole, where it should be. So that's something that we need to discuss.
Well, we talked about putting an RFP out there.
Right, and also NIPA also indicated that they would have a maintenance plan that they're hoping that they could offer. I know the last time we got together for an in-person meeting, they were going through the regulatory commission as far as trying to get that approved. I don't know the status on getting that approved because of COVID, but
Right. And so we're just dotting our I's, crossing our T's, doing a couple other things before we close. But I think the good news is that we're looking at the end of February to get the materials in so that we can begin construction. And Mayor, to your point, the sooner that we can finalize the maintenance agreement, whether it's a municipal agreement with the town, I think certainly the better. So
Madam
there was,
President, question.
Yeah.
I think we're all aware about the other phone call that, or the Facebook message that we received about from the resident asking about, their streets don't have a street light at the moment, but when we do this project, will there be some sort of audit done for streets that may not have a street light to place them in? And if, on the other hand, if the street is deemed to have too many, to consolidate?
yeah, so that was actually done during the design phase, correct, Mayor?
correct.
If there are streets that there is an interest in the council where, hey, on Wheeler, maybe one or two lights may be beneficial, just shoot an email to the mayor and I, and we can absolutely get it to NIPA and the design team to have them take a look at it. They did reduce the number of streetlights. I just don't have the figure on me, but they did a citywide assessment on that already.
Right, yeah, because these are going to be brighter than the old ones, so
Right.
not as many are needed. And I know that there's been an email floating around from a resident in River Edge inquiring about streetlights on the portion over there, and because it's an HOA and it's a private road, I don't believe technically we can put up streetlights under this project because it's a community within a community. So, and I don't know if Mike, you can shed a little light on that, but it's my knowledge that there's no streetlights at all going down. It's in essence, I think it's considered a private driveway because there is no parking allowed on the street itself. So I don't know where that would fall into, this project, if at all.
You're correct, Mayor. We cannot put lights on the private roadway.
Yeah.
Only where we have an easement for our utilities. And I know there's a section, it's a private road, and we're not allowed to put any of streetlights in that area.
Will that be the same concern? I know it's probably years down the road, but would that be the same concern with the Little League Drive? Or
No, because
No.
they're gonna deed it back over to the city.
Okay.
Road.
Right.
I knew we had talked about the audit on those streetlights, but I wanted to make sure that it had in fact happened.
It did.
Thank
I think it was completed in June or July.
Yeah, we needed to do it before we knew how much or the cost of the project was going to be and the supplies that would be needed and all
Right.
that other stuff. So
Thank you.
Right.
you're welcome.
Okay, and then last but not least, for around the room, I just wanted to talk about the recommendations from the city attorney relative to the ethics board. I know there were a substantial amount of emails that went back and forth regarding the city attorney's recommendations. I am, obviously this is all open for discussion from everybody, but I do want to turn it over to the city attorney just to kind of give his feedback and recommendations just as a whole, and then we can discuss it from there. Mr.
Thank you, Madam
Ruda.
President. Thank you, Madam President. We reviewed the Board of Ethics as a result of a request on a Freedom of Information request that brought up the review of how the board was comprised and what the rules and regulations were. We found out under General Municipal Law, Section 808, that our Board of Ethics was improperly comprised of members, that we were not in compliance with the General Municipal Law, and therefore some amendments are needed to come into compliance with the state law. In that process, we came up with some suggested recommendations, which we've sent to the council for review, to one, clarify the functions of the board, two, to set forth more specifics about the organization of the board, because those things in our original policy manual, when the board was set up, were very vague. And we tried to make it more specific and answer some of the questions that some of the councilmen have as to what is the board's functions, how does it operate, and who are they accountable to? And I think that's what we've come up with that we put forward to you.
Thank you, Mr. Rua. And at no point in your recommendations is it that the ethics board, however we encompass the board moving forward, it's not your recommendation that they only review financial matters, correct?
That would be correct. The board is already limited because the way that we've set this up is it can only review matters that are referred to it by the Common Council or by the mayor. So if there are things that you don't want the board to give an advisory opinion on, and remember, this is an advisory board, they have no legal authority, they only make advisory opinions. If there's an issue that you don't want them to consider, you just don't refer it to them. So only the Common Council or the mayor can refer things to the Board of Ethics. So it's already limited. If you're going to limit it to just, as an example, financial matters, that's like limiting the traffic and safety boards to only talking about stop signs. When we make a recommendation to a board, we ask them to review whatever the issue is. So any board should not have any kind of political sway or basis to it when they render their opinions. Obviously, if board members are trying to promote some sort of a political agenda, they should be removed. And the way we set up this Board of Ethics is that they serve the way it's proposed for a 2-year term, but they serve at the pleasure of the council. So the council can remove them at any time if they feel that a board member is not acting properly and abusing their opinion or a position or authority.
So just to be fully transparent, your research began because the city clerk received a FOIL request from an individual, serves on this board. And I understand this, you sent a correspondence and we have not heard back, correct?
That is correct. There was a FOIL request that we believe was improperly submitted. We advised the individual that he could resubmit the request if he so desired, but in a different capacity. And this is what brought the review of the whole Board of Ethics. The issue was whether or not the Board of Ethics could initiate an investigation on its own accord. And that's how all this came about. Upon doing the research, we found out that it was unclear under the Code of Ethics and the policy manual that the city of Tonawanda currently has. And that's why we're making these recommendations to make it more specific and outline the functions and proceedings of the board.
Okay, perfect. Questions?
If I may.
Mr. Unser?
Thank you, Madam President. I know you speak to the range of it and that you don't think it should be narrowed into a financial situation, but I sent the rest of the council several different links, examples of different ethics boards, ethics committees throughout New York State, even an article on how one should construct an ethics committee. And I think that we already have in-house dealings with disciplinary situations. I think, the article that I sent to everybody kind of touches on morality versus ethical concerns because they're not necessarily intertwined. I think you broaden the scope too much and you open it up for fishing expeditions to some people. I understand that it's still got to go before the council. Who's to say that there's not a council of 5 people that might want to go after a treasurer or a mayor or somebody else? I think we need to really rein in the range of what they take care of. I think it needs to be narrowed in on a specific issue. Otherwise, you're giving them too much of a range. And again, I sent out all those the links on a bunch of different boards, different committees, and how they're set up. And it seems that's the focus of these different committees. I don't think we should be working outside of the range that's already set a precedent. Like I said, ethics board across the state. I think I even sent you a SUNY College one. The main focus is on misappropriation of finances, conflicts of interest, taking briberies and gifts and determining those things. It clearly outlines that Article 18, which I sent to, that I think should be added to it, to specifically talk about taking gifts or what can be considered a bribe in this process. I mean, the last thing we want to do, and I think that's one of the biggest things, is we don't want to look at a conflict of interest situation. I think that's the biggest concern. Again, there is disciplinary actions that are taken care of with a process in the city. If it's my understanding that Mike and Brittany, both address those kind of situations. When I guess you get to a point of legality versus an ethical issue, and how that's punished or how it's disciplined within the department that you're dealing with. If you're opening it up to a complaint to somebody else, I think it opens it up to, to making it into something more than it is, or to taking it out of context. Again, it's just where I'm coming from. I think it needs to be narrowed in, and I guess a couple other concerns too is when we talk about it coming from a committee to a board. It's my understanding that the boards that we have in place have a balanced political makeup. So it's got to be at least 2 from the Republican, 2 from the Democratic, and then anything on top of that in between. It's my understanding right now. I mean, obviously there's only 3, so there's an imbalance. But I think this outlines a minimum of 3, and I think we need to look at a minimum of 4, if not more, to cover that balance. If I'm not mistaken on that one, Mike.
Well, I would love to see the political makeup of all the boards. I mean, now given the fact that we're only down to 4 parties, I mean, if we're gonna audit that, we should audit all of our boards across the city.
I think that is a concern when you're talking about the boards. And I think it's limited to not all of the parties, but it's specifically the major parties, the Democrat and Republican balance, that there has to be at least 2 members of a Democrat and a Republican, and then the rest of that can be a mix of third parties. Beyond that, it should be balanced. And that's just my understanding from how the other boards are set up.
Actually, I believe this board is made up of a conservative, a Republican, and a Democrat, but I could be wrong. I don't. Okay. So what is their makeup?
And currently it's, I think, 2 Democrats and a Republican. Which again, you're talking about bringing in a city employee, an appointed official, an elected official to balance that out. I just think it needs to be revisited. And I said it before, I think, it should start from scratch. Kind of, if we're going to do this the right way, ensure this is in place and we're setting a precedence, I'd like to see it kind of deconstructed, how it's been done the wrong way. put this into a resolution and reappoint members and set the direction of this properly. I think there's training issues that we need to consider, make sure people are on the right board, they're properly trained and understand, the purpose of it. And like I said, are properly trained.
I mean, I certainly don't support it limiting to financial matters only. What would be the point of an ethics board? They're an advisory board and their matters are only referred to them when there's a complaint. And we can opt not to forward it to the ethics board.
We can.
I mean, as long as you have a majority.
But who's to say that it's not? I mean, I think, we can speak to us and, we're here, we understand the full precedence of it, but, as this moves forward to different councils at 10 years from now, who's going to misread this differently or apply the purpose of it differently? Again, I just think that there's a lot of disciplinary measures already in place. I think we talk about ethics versus a morality issue where one could be intertwined with the other. And we need to really look at the basics of the ethics, conflicts of interest, financial issues.
Conflicts of interest are included in any financial matters.
Exactly, but that's what I'm saying.
We as elected officials hold that high standard to conflicts of interest.
Certainly we do, and we're the one that should be, to an extent, under the judgment of this. And I guess to an extent, we answer to the public, we answer to the people. As far as employees go,
so you're proposing disabling.
No, so I'm saying that. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I just want to continue with one more thing. We're talking about issues already in place, that we have employees, that we have a process, that we have a disciplinary track and a record that's dealt with by the chiefs, the department heads, the mayor, the people that deal with this on a day-to-day situation. Whereas, taking it out of the hands and the proper chain of command that they're already dealt with, you're putting it into the hands of somebody else to make these decisions or to turn it into something into more than it is. You can look at a lot of different situations. I think it's a different situation where you're dealing with interactions between people in the same office. You're dealing about complaints about neighbors. I mean, it becomes an ethical issue if, John Ball is taking bribes to pick up extra garbage from a residence and line in his pockets with it. Then you're talking about an ethical issue that I guess should be concerned. But
so just to be clear,
if he's not picking up the garbage and not doing his job, I mean, that's something that should come under the consideration of the mayor's office, of Joe Worthing, his department head.
Well,
there's a fine line between ethical issues and criminal matters. When it becomes a criminal matter, then it should be submitted and dealt with through the criminal process. If it's a matter of somebody not doing their job or a disciplinary issue, it should be dealt with internally within their departments. Beyond that, you're opening up a broad range of different things that could be thrown at it. And I just want to be, as we move forward with this, I just want to be real careful that we're using common sense as we move forward with this, to make sure this is constructed properly and, kind of covering our bases to make sure this is being used the right way and for the right purpose and constructed properly. And I still go back to, we look at the other links that I sent you. They're all based on these financial issues. All of them outlined, from short little brief ones to SUNY to the long state legislature, all through the whole thing. It's dealing with the financial misappropriations and how to specifically deal with that. You also you put an expectation on this committee to have a great knowledge of all these different things. If we put it out there, to have an understanding of how the city works, how our employees work, how our city offices are run. Where I think the bigger concern is what they need to focus on and need to be trained properly in that. I think as it grows and it expands, I think it could be expanded, but I think at this point, we need to give them a specific job to do, tell them how to do the job and give them the resources to do that job properly. I don't go into work and hire a new person and tell them they have to know how to do every single thing in my store. That kind of grows based on the position, and as the need grows, that can be addressed. But I think right now it hasn't had any direction. They haven't been trained properly. It hasn't been outlined what their functions are. And I think we need to start there.
Okay. So,
Madam President,
yes.
If I may just say one thing, Sean, most of the Board of Ethics that have been set up to deal with just financial matters have required everybody to submit an annual financial disclosure statement. And one of the major functions of that type of board of ethics is every year to review each elected officials, appointed officials, and department heads' financial statements to make sure there are no conflicts of interest or anything improper. So if you're going to go down that road, then you're going to have to require everyone to file financial statements, because otherwise they're not going to be reviewing anything financial.
Then should we not be held to that standard?
So there's a couple things that Sean said that, or Councilmember Brown Strauss said that I just want to comment on. I believe there is a section in our charter about gifts. And we would reference that obviously, but there is a section in there where we can't take gifts up of X dollars. As far as any employee matters, of course, the mayor under the day-to-day operations would investigate and issue disciplinary actions. The purpose of an ethics board is to investigate ethical behaviors after they're referred to by the Common Council. And let me be clear, Councilmember Rounstrau, I didn't have time to go through the 13 emails about links and research and all that. We just received some today, so I didn't have time to go through and then investigate and do my due diligence at that part. But I am going to be very clear, because I hear what you're saying, and what I think you want to do is you want to disband the current board, and I don't support that. That makes it look personal to me, and I can't get beyond that fact. The fact that there were over 20 emails about the ethics board after the city attorney issued his recommendation, and I'm concerned at, I don't want us to lose focus on where we need to be or where we should be. So we can balance the board. We can certainly have a board of a city official and a city employee. Please forward me a name of anyone that you may be interested, that you may suggest that gets appointed, but we just can't lose focus, and it's getting to be personal to me. And
I'm not looking
support
at it to be personal. I don't think it's a matter of a personal issue. And again, I kind of go back to, when I started on the council, this was already in place and the members were already named.
But to be clear, the FOIL request was submitted after numerous requests to the city attorney were made. He left 2 messages with the city attorney. So I chalk it up as an error. I don't think we need to make it personal. And I appreciate the
I'm not
city.
making it. I don't think anybody's
Brittany's-
making it personal. And I said it right from the beginning. I'm happy to share my emails. If a FOIL request is in there, that's fine. My question from the beginning was the start of the process, of how that process was started. And that's when I started questioning things.
Right.
And we're on that path now, which I think is good. But I think it's doing us, I think it's doing us in the city and the ethics committee or the ethics board a disservice by not ensuring that it's constructed properly, put into place, and we move
I
forward.
think we all agree that the board needs to be constructed properly. So if there is a city official or a city employee that we wish to add to the board via council resolution, absolutely. Let's throw a resolution together. But to disband the board or to disband one member by taking the neutral approach from the city attorney, that could be perceived as retaliation, and I don't support it.
I'm not looking to eliminate anybody. I'm looking at eliminating the whole thing and starting it over from scratch. I'm not singling anybody out. I'm not singling out any situation. I think that is the better way to move forward. And I'm just expressing my ideas. And I appreciate the fact that you didn't have the time to look through the links that I put out there. But, I assume this is going to go over a couple more discussions. And I ask that all of you kind of take a look over that and kind of enter your opinion based on some of that information as well. That's really.
I'd just like to piggyback on that very, very quickly, and maybe a policy change is something that we need to look at for all of our committees, that when these committees are convened, selected, created, and put it forward with a task, most times those tasks are extremely important, especially this. ethics board is extremely important. They could have, their decisions could have very far-reaching implications. So my 2 cents is that when these are done, when we put these committees together, that the proper training is given to them as to what their scope is, as to what their, how to go about holding meetings, et cetera, so that when an issue does arise, we can be certain, or the next council can be certain, that these folks are all working off the same set of rules and the same set of training guidelines or policy guidelines, so that we don't have the issue that we had. I think that in a certain way, us as a council has to look at what did we provide for them to give them what their scope was. So, and if that came down to that, we lacked giving them something, or we lacked providing them the proper training to carry out duties, then that needs to be changed. So that's just what I would, and not just for this ethics board, but for any committee from here on out. Maybe we need to look at our policy manuals and start saying that these are the roles for this community or committee, and this committee, and this committee.
Well, there are several boards that you are required to take CEUs in order to maintain your spot on that board. So absolutely, I'm going to chalk this up to infancy and, lack of the city attorney and this member not being able to connect. But to disband the board, I don't support. If we want to add to it, absolutely, which is the recommendation of the city attorney, let's add to it. We don't really have people knocking down our doors to be on boards and committees in the city. So I'd love to engage as many people as we can in setting the ground rules that, matters are referred to this committee or this advisory board after the common council receives the complaint, or the mayor.
I'm not also saying that there's no reason why they can't be resubmitted and onto the new board. I just think it needs, I just think from a point of view, it just needs to be started anew, to be started properly, started correctly, to be created as it's outlined in this resolution, to have the additions added to the code of ethics in these parts. Maybe it's somewhat ceremonial, but I think it should be done the right way, and it should be moved forward the right way.
So, Mr. Rua, according to your recommendations, the Common Council President appoints the members to the board via a council resolution, correct?
The way my proposed amendments are, and this is a proposed amendments for your review. It wasn't a resolution. It was something I submitted for your consideration.
Right.
After review, I would put it in the form of a resolution to modify the policy manual. The way we set it up is the Common Council appoints. The Common Council President suggests the members. The council actually votes and approves.
Right. So no different than what we've done in the past.
I believe that is correct.
Okay. All right. If there are any city employees or city officials that you would recommend, let's put that out there. Anything else on that? John, Tom?
Madam President, if there's,
Yes.
what I requested is that the council review it. If they have any suggestions, they can submit it to me, and I'd be happy to address those issues. But this is what we came up with as a basic proposal for consideration.
Right. I think your three options were to disband the advisory committee, which I don't support, or B, remove one member, which I certainly don't support, or C, add a city official or city employee in order to get that board to where it should be.
That is the three options. That is correct, because we are not starting a new board of ethics. We had a board of ethics. We're just modifying it to come into compliance with General Municipal Law, Section 808.
Correct.
So those are the three options.
Okay, so we're not creating a new board, and their term would expire when, Mr. Rua?
Under the proposed amendments, their term would be a 2-year term, but however, they serve at the pleasure of the Common Council. So every time there's a new council, they would appoint new Board of Ethics members.
I mean, you know, I believe we can't punish a board or board members if they weren't given the tools or the resources that they needed to be effective. So
I don't think we're
That's
punishing
my-
anybody. I don't think there's any punishment involved. And I think if you push forward that sentiment, then it's going to be looked at that way. I think it's not a matter of a punishment, but of creating it properly.
I think your emails were very personal and directed at one member of the board.
Yeah, I mean, is that something you want to go into executive and discuss? Because I don't think this is the place to discuss that.
It's not, we're not an executive yet. I haven't mentioned a name. All I said was, I felt your emails were very personal.
Then you misconstrued them. I'm coming from a lot of different angles on here to have this done correctly and have it set up properly and to have the right people on there.
I think that was our main objective when we asked the city attorney to review the matters.
I'm not disagreeing. I
provide-
think I have a different path than you do on this.
Yeah, I mean, we can agree to disagree, but I'm not in support of disbanding the board. We can certainly enhance it and make the improvements as the city attorney recommended, but I also don't agree with the fact that we just limit it to financial matters. Anything else on that topic?
I've heard enough, so.
Dawn, anything?
I just want to make sure that everybody has the proper trainings and that they understand their role, that they move forward, whether it is with the, the ethics committee, it's traffic and safety, or any other committee that we have put together in the city. That's all I ask for.
And part of your recommendation, Mr. Rura, was that this board meets once a year. Correct?
The state law requires the Board of Ethics to meet at least once a year and to review the city's code of ethics. And if necessary, make amendments and recommendations for any changes they feel might be needed to come in compliance with current state law.
All right, perfect. Anything else? All right. Oh, Jim, oh, there you are, Jim. All right, do you need anything before we go into formal?
And I can share, once we go into formal, I can share the agenda from, hopefully that'll work. And
Okay. And did you send out the revised agenda with the mayor's state of the city?
I sent it out to the council members.
Yes.
I posted it on the website. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's all, it's all good.
I did not-
So,
I can, no, I did send out no, I didn't send out a revised agenda. I just sent out everyone the copy of the state of the city.
okay. So we'll do the mayor's state of the city after the bid openings.
Okay.
Okay, Mayor, you go with that? Okay. All right, then let's call the regular meeting of the City of Tonawanda Council to order. Please call the roll.
Newman,
Here,
Himmerdiner,
Here,
Rautenstrom,
Here.
Mylum,
Here.
Cook.
Here, please stand for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag
Flag
and
of the United States of America
and to
and
the
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We received our prayer from Associate Chaplains Sam Chifa. God of wisdom, we seek your help today. Come and let your wisdom fall upon us, O Lord, as we gather for this meeting. Give us clarity so that we can effectively tackle each part of today's agenda. Reveal problem areas and show us the best solutions that will apply. Point our eyes to every positive outcome since our last meeting, and let these favorable results and developments encourage every heart in this room. Dear God, help us apply your wisdom as we decide on certain matters and make plans. In this we pray in Jesus' name, amen. Okay, bid openings for the Young Street Corridor Improvement Project as per the agenda. And I'll now turn it over to the mayor for the state of the city.
Thank you, Madam President. This is the hardest state of the city I've given since becoming mayor. Not because the city is in dire straits, but because of the uncertainty of the pandemic and subsequent vaccine rollout underway. A year ago today, little did we know that our world would get turned upside down. We as a city have weathered the first wave of the pandemic fairly well. Back in March 2020, decisions were made by my office to substantially cut back on recreation programs and overtime for our city departments to help close a potential 25% reduction in both state aid and sales tax revenue. The Common Council took further steps months later to help soften the blow by making cuts to the 2020 budget. These actions helped set up the city to weather the storm better than some of our neighboring communities. The 2020 sales tax number came in about 2% less than the previous year, and we only lost about 5% in state aid. What does that all mean, you may ask? A pre-audit shows that we should hit the figure of $24.7 million in the budget without having to dip into our reserves to help fund budget shortfalls. A more thorough audit will be accomplished later in the year to ensure that all budget lines were adequately funded. The City of Tonawanda General Fund began fiscal year 2020 with an undesignated fund balance of approximately $3 million. The undesignated fund balance represented approximately 12.5% of the annual general fund expenditures. From a general municipal accounting standpoint, the preservation of a 16% fund balance is recommended minimum standard. The cost of the benefit of the city for health insurance has increased from $3.2 million in 2009 to approximately 4.5 for 2020. This represents an average annual increase of approximately 5% over the past 11 years. The city has realized savings of approximately $2 million in the last few years from shopping health insurance carriers on a yearly basis. Our New York State retirement contribution in 2020 was $1.8 million. Our water fund continues, our water fund continues to do well, with Erie County Water Authority absorbing most of the debt service, and that debt service paid off. There is approximately $200,000 annually that we generate from Erie County Water Authority that goes into the general fund to offset hydrant charges and water to city buildings. The city continues to progress through a mandated $30 million sanitary sewer remediation capital improvement required as part of its New York State consent order. Currently, we're in phase 10 of a 10-phase project. This particular debt will be financed through New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation at 0% interest, thanks to a grant that I was able to obtain. This grant will save the city taxpayers $20 million over the next 30 years. The city's annual cost to the town of Tonawanda for sewage treatment is approximately $950,000, or 42% of the annual sewer fund operating budget. As we look to the rest of 2021, God willing, our Parks and Rec programs will be 100% open. Shelters, the pavilion, Kohler Pool, the Harbor House, summer camp, etc., will be able to be utilized by our city residents. $850,000 dock expansion program was shelved for a bit in 2020, thanks to COVID-related cost increases. That project is slated to begin in the spring of 2021 with the rehab of the docks along Ellicott Creek, a permanent police dock for added waterway safety, and rehab of the existing fishing pier in Niawanda Park. This project will be completed by sometime in the summer. Thanks to the generosity of the Ralph Wilson Jr. Foundation, work was completed on renovating Gateway Park, wayfinding station at Longs Point, a rest stop in Niawanda Park, and resurfacing of a bike path within Niawanda Park. This $1 million plus investment will help improve upon the best publicly accessible waterfront in Western New York. Work will begin this spring on the $2.5 million Young Street project that will help transform the western half of Young Street into a four-season public green space area right in our central business district that we will call Canal Street Plaza. This project is expected to take about 15 months to complete. Recently, we received a $2.1 million DOT grant to help refurbish or replace the Long Homestead Bridge. We continue to work with our architect and the DOT as to which avenue, rehab or replacement, is the best use of taxpayer monies. This will bring the total to over $6 million in investment in our downtown over the last few years. Another project that caught the COVID bug was Little League development. Getting approvals from the county and state was more difficult with most people telecommuting for the past few months. We are at the stage where Erie County Water Authority needs to sign off on the water line infrastructure before construction can begin. David Holmes is currently working with Erie County Water Authority to get these approvals here soon, and the city should deed the property over to David Holmes shortly thereafter. Late last year, Karuba and Company purchased 2 lots in the city to embark on a potential $45 million mixed-use development project. They are currently going through the environmental review process, and we look forward to seeing the final plans once they've worked through their studies. Milton Cat recently purchased 20 acres at the Spalding Fiber Commerce Park. We had a groundbreaking ceremony last fall, and they expect to be completed on the property sometime in fall 2021. We thank them for choosing to invest in the city and look forward to a grand opening later this year. On a side note, we had quite a bit of interest in the remaining 19 acres at Spalding, but the second wave of COVID kind of tempered that interest for the time being. We hope that once spring rolls around, that interest does return. Also last year, David Pollock of Constructive Structure Services purchased the old school church on East Niagara Street and is turning that property into a mixed-use facility. 7 one-bedroom and 7 two-bedroom apartments will be co-located with about 4,000 square feet of commercial space. Renovations have been ongoing, and Mr. Pollock plans on completing the project in the next few months. 3 years ago, I had a conversation with Jim Ronan at PD Construction about the old Trot Now machine shop at 330 East Niagara Street, about whether I thought luxury apartments would be a good fit for that area. With its location directly across from the Erie Canal, I indicated that I thought it would be a perfect fit. Fast forward to now, Canal Walk Apartments has 2 separate buildings completed, with the third 90% completed. In total, 42 luxury 1 and 2 bedroom apartments are slated for that underutilized property. In 2019, David Mazer purchased the old Delaware Lanes property and is turning it into 24 market rate apartments. Construction started last year on the first building on the site and should be completed by 2022. The second building is going up now. Our local development corporation is now a few years old, and thanks to thousands of volunteer hours of hard work board members have put into date, they are embarking on their first project this year. Our zoning for our central business district will be changing to a form-based code. This will make it easier for developers to invest within our downtown area and to take advantage of the incentives to do so. We hope that with the seed monies that they have received from the county and the city, work will begin on a microloan program for businesses in our central business district. Over the last few years, the city has received zombie grants to help with both code enforcement and assisting residents facing foreclosure the opportunity to stay at home. A spinoff of that grant has been the formation of a wonderful community development corporation called COT Neighbors United. This group's focus is primarily on the quality of life of our city residents. From housing to public art, parks and playgrounds, complete streets, tree and green initiatives, and outreach, this group brings a holistic grassroots movement to make the city an even better place to live. I've always said that change doesn't happen at the government level. It takes ordinary citizens effectuating change. I look forward to that group growing over the next year. We are able to team up with the Vietnam Veterans of America Chapter 77 to secure the wall that heals from July 22nd through the 26th in Veterans Park. The wall that heals is a 3/4 scale replica of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. We are excited to bring this memorial to the city and give our veterans an opportunity to mourn and remember lost loved ones in the Vietnam War. Since we partnered with the Buffalo Erie Niagara Land Improvement Corporation, or BENLIC, they've invested around $1 million into our neighborhoods. These homes were in disrepair that threatened the quality of life and property values of the surrounding homes. This year, they have identified 6 more homes and plan on doubling their investment in the city. We thank the folks at BENLIC for making a positive difference in our city and look forward to their future investment. Working with the Erie County Department of Environment and Planning, I was able to obtain 3 $10,000 grants for our 3 food pantries, St. Francis, Salvation Army, and the VBA. If this last year has shown us anything, it is the importance of food pantries to our most vulnerable residents. I hope everyone continues to support our local food pantries in their greatest time of need. In closing, there's a lot of exciting things happening in the city, but I would be lying if I didn't say that the pandemic is a black cloud that continues to hang over us all. I am hopeful that this year will be better than last year. I want to thank my office staff, government officials, department heads, and city workers for the job you do day in and day out. Please stay safe, wear a mask, and God bless. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, moving forward with our regular agenda, communications from the mayor have been ordered and filed. Communications from city officials and correspondence have also been ordered and filed. We are not going into executive session. At this time, we'll now take comments by the public on the resolutions. There is a spot for you to raise your hand. If you'd like to address the council on the resolutions, now would be the time. Mr. Clerk, are you getting any indication from any residents that wish to address the council on the resolutions?
Madam President, at this time, I do not have anyone indicating a question on the resolutions.
Okay. Last call. If you wish to address the council on the resolutions, there is an opportunity for you to raise your hand. Please do so now. All right, let's roll.
Okay, resolution number 1 by the council, seconded by the council. Resolved that the common council minutes for January 19th, 2021 be accepted as filed.
Comments or questions or comments? Please call the roll.
Newman.
Aye.
Cameron.
Aye.
Rautenstrau.
Aye.
Mylum.
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted.
Resolution number 2 by council member Cameron.
Do we have a second?
I'll second, Madam President.
seconded by Mr. Newman.
Resolved that the following individuals be named Commissioner of Deeds for the city of Tonawanda, term to expire December 31st, 2022, as per your agenda.
Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Newman,
Aye.
Cameron,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted.
Okay, resolution number 3 by the council, seconded by the council. Whereas local law number 3 for the year 2020 for the city of Tonawanda, entitled "A Local Law to Amend the Number of Members on the Board of Assessment and Review to 5 members," was enacted by a resolution of this body on January 5th, 2021. And whereas Mayor Rick Davis held a public hearing on January 19th, 2021 concerning said legislation. Now therefore be resolved that should the mayor approve said legislation as is required by law, the city clerk is directed to notify New York Secretary of State of its enactment and approval.
Comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Newman,
Aye.
Cameron,
Aye.
Call the roll.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted.
Resolution number 4 by the council, seconded by the council. Resolved that the city of Tonawanda Common Council has reviewed the proposed intermunicipal shared service agreement between the city of Tonawanda and Niagara County for stormwater management coordinator services, approves the terms and conditions of that agreement, approves providing stormwater management coordinator services to Niagara County for the sum contained in the agreement, and authorizes the mayor to execute the said agreement. Funding fiscal impact is $45,800 from Niagara County to the city of Tonawanda Engineering Department for services rendered.
Comments or questions? I have a comment. This shared services agreement is a great benefit to the city. So I'm looking forward to another year with this, and I'd like to thank the engineer's office for all they do in putting this on our agenda. Any other comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Newman,
Aye.
Cameron,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted.
Resolution number 5 by the council, seconded by the council. Resolved at the recommendation of the city engineer, Jason Lamonaco, PE, that award of the Young Street Corridor Improvement Construction Contract be made to Scott Lawn Yard, Inc. at a cost not to exceed $2,027,200. Funding fiscal impact of the $2,027,200 from the Smart Growth account.
Comments or questions?
Comment.
Mr. Newman?
I do want to thank Jason, our engineer, on the work he has done, obviously, with this. This is an extensive project. I do want to thank him for sending everyone the drawings or blueprints of the project. In the past, we have never seen actual drawings for any project we have done, true drawings, not just, concept drawings. I'm a little disappointed in some of the resistance that I received when I was asking for the drawings, only because I want to know what we're building, and people are going to ask us what we're building. And in a lot of cases, we couldn't even answer the question. I understand there's a concept drawing at City Hall, but with all due respect, it's really not the same as what's actually being built. Somewhat similar. There's a lot of differences. Oh, I just, moving forward, I would I'm excited about this project for sure. I just wish we could, start off on a better path when these things come. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Newman. Any other comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Newman,
Aye.
Cameron,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted.
Resolution number 6 by Councilmember Mylum.
Do we have a second?
I'd like to second that, Madam President.
Second by Mr. Rautenstrau. Comments or questions? I'm sorry.
Whereas a special events application was received by the city clerk from Daniel Lynch for the Tonawanda High School production of Rent at the band shell, and whereas the application was reviewed and commented on by all appropriate department heads to ensure safety and well-being of our residents, and whereas all details of the above-named event must be coordinated with the Parks Director, Amanda Loft, and the event chairperson, now therefore it be resolved that permission be granted to the Tonawanda High School to hold their musical production of Rent at the band shell on Friday, June 11th, 2021, and Saturday, June 12th, 2021 at 7 p.m. And be it further resolved that a certificate of insurance naming the city of Tonawanda as additional insured be filed with the city clerk no later than June 1st, 2021. And be it further resolved that in the event there is more serious impact on public health as a result of COVID-19, Common Council reserves the right to rescind permission for this event.
Comments or questions?
I do, Madam President.
Mr. Newman or Mylum?
Sorry. If the people watching this have never been to see one of the productions from the high school, especially under the direction of Mr. Lynch, he puts on, and the kids put on, a fantastic professional show. We spoke, I don't know, this meeting seems like it's 3 days long now, but we spoke about an hour ago about having things to look forward to in the summer. This is going to be one of those must-see events. This is just, it's very exciting. So I would, I know we're 5 months out from it, but definitely mark your calendars for this one. It's a very talented group of kids and a very talented band, not band leader, but instructor. So thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Mylum. Any other comments or questions?
I have a comment.
Ms. Cameron.
I too want to say, if you've never seen any of the productions put on at the high school, I've tried to join and see as many as I can because they do a phenomenal job. I can't wait to see it down at the band shell, something a little different, something outside. I think it'll be a fun, exciting time. So hopefully COVID will allow us to go down there and see this and actually get out and enjoy some nice weather. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mrs. Cameron. Any other comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Newman,
Aye.
Cameron,
Aye.
Rautenstrau,
Aye.
Mylum,
Aye.
Cook.
I declare the resolution adopted. At this time, we'll now take comments by the public following the resolutions. There's a spot for you to raise your hand if you wish to speak to the council. Please do so at this time. We'll now take comments by the public following the resolutions. If you wish to address the council, you can do so at this time by raising your hand. Mr. Clerk, do you have any residents that wish to address the council?
Madam President, at this time, I do not have anyone from the audience indicating any questions from the public.
Okay, last call. Anyone wishing to address the council can do so at this time. Okay, Mr. Newman.
I have no comments this evening, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Newman. Ms. Camerediner.
I have no comments this evening either. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Ms. Camerediner. Mr. Rounstrau.
I have nothing further tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rounstrau. Mr. Mylum.
This is the first time in 4 years I won't be repeating something everybody said before me. This is great. Just really quickly, and this is, another bright light at the end of the tunnel. I was contacted by the soccer club this week. We are holding our first meeting on Sunday to discuss reopening house league soccer for the Tonawanda kids this year. I could not be more excited about that. It was very difficult last year not to have that offering for the kids. Just in the past, just to let you know, we typically service between 125 and 275 kids playing soccer. So the committee is dedicated to it. We're ready to go. My only concern is finding fields to play on this year, as most of us in school district got a notice today that they're going to start construction on Tana 2020 at Fletcher, which kind of puts limitations on other schools where we have played in the past. But I'm truly hoping that we, even if it's, somebody has a huge backyard that we could rent out or something, I'm really looking forward to soccer coming back for the kids, having them get outside, have another reason to put down the video game controller and come out and have some fun. So it's definitely a light at the end of the tunnel, and I couldn't be more excited to be part of that. So, and that's all I have. So thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Mylum. So Coach Mylum, they must have signed you to a multi-year contract or?
A multi-year volun contract, yes. But I look forward to it. If there's any parents in the crowd, keep looking for flyers to come home, because we'll have the registration. My hope is registration will open up within the next 2 weeks or so, and we can start, putting the all call out. If anybody's willing to coach, if anybody's willing to referee, anything like that. So just be on the lookout. So to me, just real positive news. So thank you very much.
Thank you. That's great news. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to thank the council for their continued support with resolution number 4. I know a few years back when we hired Brian, Niagara County came to us with a proposal that would enable us to, for lack of a better term, farm him out for 1 day a week. And the monies that the county was willing to give us almost offsets the salary for our assistant engineer. So I want to thank you guys for continuing that agreement. And I kind of touched base on this, or was touched base on around the room, but just want to memorialize it in the minutes that Senator Ryan has sent out a letter to CSX regarding their railroad bridge and all of the issues that we've had. I want to thank him for supporting me and reaching out to them. And I know we've gotten, we've seen on social media, or we've gotten emails or text messages about suggestions, everything from lasers to, structures going over the roadway to digging out the roadway, which would present more problems, further on down the road, and more resources spent by city taxpayers. But at the end of the day, this is individuals that are driving that aren't paying attention to the road, and CSX should man up and pay for whatever improvements are necessary to alert the drivers to this bridge. And last, I just want to piggyback on Councilman Newman's sentiments. There really isn't resistance. I guess my view on the whole Young Street project is that the plans that have been in the foyer for 18 months and on our website are pretty close to what was finalized. And, you know, I don't want to see any more unnecessary work being done by anyone in the city, because as we all know, from the clerk's office to the engineers, you know, to the police, to fire, you know, everybody's stretched thin. And but we work through it, and hopefully we'll start seeing a shovel on the ground there in the next few weeks. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mayor. Some positive news with the LED street lights. We're looking at the end of February that the materials will come in, so we can begin construction on that. So certainly that's good news. I think this is 3+ years in the making. So when they say things don't happen overnight in politics and in city government, you know, that's an understatement. So I do want to thank all of our team, council, engineer, mayor's assistant, NIPA, all of our engineers, contractors. I mean, there's a slew of unsung heroes that have all played a part in this. So it's nice to finally see this come to fruition. So certainly that's great news, and more to come on that. I want to thank our city assessor for joining us tonight to talk about the exemption filing deadline, which again is March 1st. So please, any residents, if you do have any questions, please reach out to our city assessor as well. One thing that was mentioned tonight was the tentative reopening of City Hall, which will be on Monday, scheduled for Monday, but obviously, you know, with COVID, it's such a fluid situation. So it's a bright light at the end of the tunnel here. But, you know, so hopefully we can get back up and running with that. And hopefully the next time our residents Zoom into a council meeting, we are all together in one building. I know there's been a lot of discussion on the vaccine rollout. I would encourage anyone who's in the 1A or 1B category to please go onto the New York State website, and you'll have to fill out a form to see if you're eligible to receive the vaccine. And then they will list areas or hubs that you can schedule an appointment. Again, it's such a fluid situation. As vaccines come in, more and more hubs will be opening up. So please just be patient, and certainly reach out to the resources that are available with that. I want to give a congratulations to Phil Lockhart, who is our newest police officer who just started the academy. So he just joined the academy and he'll be on the road soon. So congratulations to him. If any residents went to the Senior Citizen Center and met with an AARP tax preparer, Amherst, those preparers are at Amherst, and you can schedule an appointment. An appointment is required. So that phone number is 636-3055. Now, I understand that there are flyers that were delivered to the mayor's office, and I believe our clerk has a copy of that. If possible, I'm just requesting that we get that information up on our website so that the residents have an opportunity to see the flyer. There is an intake form, I believe it's about 7 pages long, that you will have to fill out prior to your appointment. So, Jim, if we could just work on getting that on our city website, work with Caitlin on that, that would be great.
Yes.
Thank you. And then last but not least, your slides today are courtesy of Councilman Mylum. I want to give him a shout out. I think it's a nice incentive to have these slides up for the community. Certainly the waste of resources to print the agendas and all that. So I want to thank Councilmember Mylum for taking the initiative and for making that available to our residents. Unfortunately, the bills did not make it to the Super Bowl, but I think there's big things coming from them. And I want to thank the residents for joining us tonight. I know it was a long meeting, but I feel that it was a very productive meeting. So I want to thank you all for sticking with us. And with that said, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second, Madam President.
Seconded by Mr. Rounstraw. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a great night, everybody.
Good night.
Thanks, you too.
Right, guys.
Thanks.
Stay safe, everybody.
Okay, I'll be
Go
ending the
Shaw.
call.
Yeah, stay safe.
Thanks everyone for joining our call. We had a record number of participants. Have a nice evening. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Bye.